Indeed, there is no doubt that countless phenomena stand before science as insoluble enigmas. This stems from the fact that the scientific method is bound by a set of strict principles, which constrain its ability to provide persuasive explanations for such mysteries. Foremost among these principles lies the doctrine of verifiability, the axiom that any phenomenon which cannot be subjected to repeated experimentation for confirmation cannot be deemed scientific. Consequently, the unseen realm, in its entirety, holds no place within the framework of empirical science. Thus, the explanations offered by scholars to dismiss the stories of children who claim to have lived former lives proved far from convincing. For the wealth of intricate details these children recount at such tender ages cannot plausibly have reached them from their parents or immediate surroundings. From whence, then, did they acquire such vivid information, if not by being souls reborn, carrying remnants of their former existence as rare exceptions? To address this question, one cannot dispense with a religious perspective, particularly with regard to a singular concept, the Quran. In Arabic, Quran denotes a companion or constant consort. It refers to a being from among the jinn assigned to every human at birth, accompanying them throughout life, whispering temptations and embellishing sins. This entity is distinct from the human soul inclined toward evil. Rather, it is a separate creation of God, serving as a trial through which mankind is tested. The Quran itself references the Quran in multiple passages, affirming its unwavering attachment to man. And since it belongs to the jinn, its lifespan far exceeds that of humans. It does not perish with its host, but persists for ages until God ordains its end, as with all jinn. In folklore and superstition, it is said that the Quran may manifest to the bereaved in forms known as apparitions. Yet this, in truth, is not the Quran itself, but rather the deceptive guises of jinn and devils. What matters here is that this spiritual entity clings to the human throughout life, knows the most intimate details of his existence, and unlike man, does not die with him, but may be attached to another. Imam al-Qurtubi, may God have mercy upon him, wrote an al-Tadhkirah concerning the states of the dead and the affairs of the hereafter. The Quran is not buried with the man, but departs upon his death and is appointed over another of the living until God decrees the extinction of the jinn themselves. Thus the picture becomes complete, and the reality of so-called reincarnation is unveiled. The Quran, as a metaphysical being, possesses the ability to penetrate the subconscious, instill whispers, and implant images or misleading notions into human awareness, particularly in childhood, when the mind is most susceptible and receptive. And since jinn are creatures of great longevity, today's child's Quran may well have accompanied a human in a bygone era. Hence it may transmit that life's memories to the child in such a manner that the latter perceives them not as alien whispers, but as recollections of his own past. Accordingly, the stories children recount of previous lives are not true memories of reincarnated souls, but rather vestiges of another's life retained by the Quran, impressed upon the child as false memories, crafting the illusion that he himself once lived that life. This is further evidenced by the fact that nearly all such children, upon outgrowing their early years, forget these memories entirely. For though planted in their minds, they lack the permanence of authentic experience, and with time they fade away, leaving only family anecdotes or the writings of those convinced of reincarnation. Such fading proves that these impressions do not stem from the depths of genuine consciousness, but are external influences, whether suggestion, the Quran, or even unconscious indoctrination. Stripped of historical authenticity, they collapse under scrutiny. For if these were truly memories of a past life, as is claimed, they would endure with clarity, evolving with maturity and intellect, instead of vanishing with the fleeting years of childhood. Yet reality proves otherwise. These accounts soon fade and wither, vanishing like fleeting dreams that a child forgets upon leaving the realm of innocence and open receptivity. This lends weight to the view that they are nothing more than fragile psychological or spiritual constructs, exploited by proponents of corrupt doctrines to implant ideas that ultimately lead to a veiled denial of resurrection and the day of judgment. Such notions lay the groundwork for atheism in subtle and insidious ways, interwoven with other practices and alluring terms, lightworkers, spiritual healing techniques such as energy therapy, meditation, and aura cleansing, which have merged into the creed of the New Age movement and even infiltrated educational institutions through curricula promoting a non-religious spirituality as a safe alternative. These trends work to dismantle religious identity, especially among the youth who are easily swayed by motivational slogans and promises of self-development. They also fling wide the gates for demonic influence and possession. The chanting of mantras, the opening of energy centers, these are not gateways to enlightenment or to physical, emotional, and spiritual healing as their advocates claim. Rather, they are pagan rituals composed of incantations, symbols, and invocations of Hindu deities, and often draw perilously close to invoking the jinn. Their true aim is the breaching of man's spiritual defenses, creating passages through which devils may enter. Probe deeper into these resounding terms: self-development, mind programming, chakra balancing, the opening of the third eye, the awakening of cosmic energy, or a healing astral projection, and you will discover that those who ventured too far upon this path became as hollowed palm trunks battered by the winds, with many meeting their end in despair and suicide. In fact, within much of the literature on energy healing, one finds an implicit link between the 7 chakras and the Quran. It is said that activating the root chakra in particular awakens a hidden force within man, the Kundalini energy. Thus, this chakra serves as a gateway to the lower self, or more precisely to the Quran. The vast proliferation of New Age concepts cannot be deemed innocent or coincidental. Rather, it forms part of an intellectual project designed to secularize the soul and to establish the foundations of a new creed, one aligned with a new world order that leaves no room for divine revelation, nor for the Creator himself, but only for a deified humanity and a sanctified nature. Of course, these ideas are not presented in such stark and unveiled terms. They are offered under seductive labels, much like poison wrapped in gleaming paper. Hence they crept easily into the Islamic world, despite their corrosive effect on faith, luring people away from reliance on God toward dependence on inner energy or the cosmos. This infiltration was aided by the adoption of soft language and seemingly attractive terminology, positive energy, inner peace, and the like, expressions that do not clash overtly with creed but appear familiar, even innocuous. Especially when framed with Quranic verses or prophetic traditions that encourage optimism and trust in God, these terms are stripped of their true context and monotheistic meaning, and repurposed to serve philosophies built on human centrality rather than servitude to the divine. Thus, religion itself is transformed from a creed of pure monotheism into a tool for marketing materialistic or pagan visions, cloaked in counterfeit spirituality. Such trends erode divine authority and unsettle faith identity, paving the way to doctrines of pantheism, reincarnation, and the worship of the self under guises such as inner light or awakening the God within. In this vein, the media has been harnessed to entrench New Age terminology and disseminate it widely, especially among the youth and women, through talk shows, self-help workshops, and the platforms of influencers across social media. Terms like raising vibrations, the law of attraction, reality programming, energy release are now uttered daily, woven into cultural discourse and presented in polished packages of glossy visuals, soothing meditative music, and promises of instant success and serenity, all divorced from moral or religious obligation, and at times dismissive of diligence and striving as essential paths to achievement. By endlessly reproducing such emotionally charged and suggestive content, these practices become normalized, even ritualized, as daily habits. Chanting affirmations before a mirror, engaging in guided meditations to the rhythm of cosmic frequencies, all without awareness that these practices stem from alien, demonic doctrines fundamentally opposed to the essence of true monotheism. Thus, these platforms succeeded in displacing religion from the realm of the search for tranquility, or at the very least, replacing it with doctrines that promise man mastery over his destiny if only he believes in himself. It is, in essence, a rebranding of pagan philosophies cloaked in religious garb, where the stone idol has merely been supplanted by man himself. This ideology entered the Arab and Islamic world under the guise of alluring banners: self-development, neuro-linguistic programming, laws of success, self-motivation, promoted by figures who embraced New Age philosophies and repackaged them with polished, emotional rhetoric that spoke to ambition, aspiration, and the dream of transcendence. Yet at their core, these constructs establish an intellectual system with pagan roots, recast into local forms, adorned with simple Arabic idioms, and at times dressed in the garments of religion, positivity, optimism, or even reliance upon God. Some of these trainers and advisors, whether knowingly or unwittingly, contributed to the secularization of spirituality, stripping it of its monotheistic essence and offering counterfeit alternatives in place of prayer, prostration, and humble submission before God. In their stead, they invite people to commune with the higher self, to summon abundance from the cosmos, and to reprogram the subconscious, a perilous slide toward veiled atheism. Even more troubling, certain of these figures gained broad popular legitimacy, becoming icons of success and change. Their influence extended into educational, media, and even religious institutions, which at times adopted their discourse uncritically, embedding these beliefs into the consciousness of entire generations. Among the earliest to propagate such ideas was Dr. Ibrahim al-Feki, who popularized concepts of NLP and the law of attraction under the banner of human development. In his writings and lectures, he interwove Western thought with esoteric Sufi notions, presenting ideas such as vital energy, subconscious programming, and the power of thought in forms outwardly clothed with an Islamic appearance. After him came his disciples, presenting themselves as self-development coaches and promoting notions of the law of attraction, telepathy, and the interpretation of events through energy vibrations. They blurred the lines between psychology, religion, and deeply pagan spiritual interpretations, deploying expressions like vibrations of love, drawing events from the universe, cosmic intention, terms imported from Buddhist and Hindu belief systems, disguised in a pseudo-religious veneer, at times supported by Quranic verses ripped from their context or interpreted in ways superficially aligned with mystical aberrations. It must be emphasized that these were not merely individuals but cultural phenomena, formed within a broader intellectual system backed by immense financial resources, evidence of a profound penetration of the intellectual, religious, educational, and social spheres, aimed at distorting true faith. Not by altering the Quran, for none can do that, but by reinterpreting and manipulating its verses to conform to spurious, pseudo-scientific claims. In our present age, dominated by materialism, psychological anxiety, and spiritual disquiet, man yearns for serenity and turns instinctively to spiritual healing and communion with the higher self. Many thus find in the concepts of energy, aura, and chakras the solace they seek, especially since these ideas are presented in scientific or quasi-scientific garb that lends them the appearance of credibility and empirical validity. Yet beneath this polished facade lurk perilous doctrines, blending covert atheism with deviant mysticism, substituting God of the cosmos, faith with energy, revelation with inner intuition. Marketed in modern societies as tools for psychological and spiritual well-being, they in fact carry profound and corrosive effects on thought and behavior, of which many practitioners remain unaware. Psychologically, such techniques rely heavily on suggestion, deluding man into believing he possesses absolute control over his health through balancing energies or opening chakras. This fosters a false sense of security and leads to neglect of tangible factors, both organic and psychological, that may underlie illness. Far more dangerous, however, is their impact on faith, replacing belief in divine decree and the wisdom of the Creator with a notion of cosmic energy governed by karmic laws and cycles of reincarnation. Such concepts stand in outright contradiction to monotheism, amounting to veiled idolatry. Instead of turning to repentance or prayer in times of trial, people are urged to sit in meditation sessions to restore chakra balance, severing themselves from the true source of guidance and salvation. It is telling that those who immerse themselves in these practices often drift toward individualism and social withdrawal under the pretext of avoiding negative energies in their relationships, even when such ties are religiously obligatory, such as maintaining kinship bonds or honoring one's parents. This fosters within them a tendency toward emotional detachment from others, seeing loved ones as obstacles to spiritual growth, which in turn erodes human and family bonds. Psychological studies have indicated that some regular practitioners of energy meditation techniques, or those fixated on opening chakras, experience hallucinations, identity disturbances, anxiety, and manic episodes, even loss of perception, owing to their deep immersion in energy practices and meditation without rational or faith-based grounding. Moreover, these practices fuel a consumerist and exploitative pattern under the guise of liberation. A vast market thrives around them: sacred stones, incense, books, and costly training courses, creating a consumer cycle cloaked in false spirituality. Far from freeing the individual from dependency, it makes him a servant to chakra cleansing sessions and frequency-raising methods, always in exchange for money. But pause here and do not be surprised. Despite all the foregoing, energy healing, chakra cleansing, and the law of attraction are indeed realities, not myths. Yet they are distorted realities, diverted by the people of falsehood from their rightful orientation, becoming tools of doctrinal deviation. For though God Almighty is in no need of causes, He created us in this world within a precise system of causes. Among the greatest of these causes is energy. Our entire material world is but manifestations of energies whose origin is the overflow of divine power. Thus, the supreme means of benefiting from these energies is faith in God and adherence to His obligations. Prayer, for instance, is not merely movements and utterances. It is the most sublime process of spiritual recharging, a renewed spiritual encounter that regulates the breath of the body and the rhythm of the mind, a true connection between servant and Lord. From it flows the loftiest of spiritual energies, healing the soul, rectifying the heart, and reflecting His light, serenity, and health upon the body. This is, in its purest form, the greatest energy healing. True faith also opens the door to genuine reliance upon God, binding the heart to the supreme source of energy, the supreme light, the light of the heavens and the earth. Every energy in the cosmos is but a strand from His light, and there is no path to connect with it in a way that purifies and heals except through faith in Him and obedience to Him. Thus, whoever seeks energy healing in its pure and authentic form will not find it in imported meditations or deviant rituals. He will find it in purifying ablution, in sincere prayer, in constant remembrance, and in heartfelt supplication, from which the soul draws strength, peace, and healing. The more a person makes his bond with his Lord the axis of his life, the clearer his heart becomes, the calmer his soul, and the healthier his body. Fear transforms into security, anxiety into tranquility, despair into hope, and weakness into strength. For the energy that flows from faith in God and in prayer cannot be measured against any finite energy. It is connected to the source of absolute power, untouched by exhaustion, weakness, or decline. Amid the clamor of false spiritual doctrines, such as the opening of chakras, the summoning of cosmic energy, the delusions of reincarnation and communion with the so-called astral body, the urgent need for a return to the pure divine light becomes manifest, like a beacon in a sea of deception. These doctrines, which gained popularity in the West due to spiritual emptiness and material alienation, have crept into the Islamic world, posing a grave threat to its doctrinal identity. Hence arises the pressing necessity for a conscious confrontation, an educational, media, and religious unveiling that fortifies generations against the enticement of such illusions. This is not to be achieved by mere rejection of these ideas, but through understanding, exposing, and unmasking their origins, so that the soul does not lose itself in a whirlpool of sorcery cloaked in religious and scientific disguise. Then, to seal the cracks through which they slip, one must deepen awareness of creed, nurture pure connection with God Almighty, and cultivate within souls the aims of the Sharia, the meanings of purification, certainty, and contentment. It is a submission to the truth that the unseen world has been veiled from us by God for our own good. Yet He has created doors leading to it as a form of trial. These doors are known to the devils, and they act as guides to them. So beware of falling into this temptation,